me!
None of us knows, Major. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we are. Each of us woke up one moment, and here we were in the darkness.
How could that happen?
That's the question we asked ourselves.
We are born lost. Then we're found. But we're all just lost, am I right?
Maybe I haven't prayed enough.
I'm sure that's not the problem. Praying is something we do in our time. The answers come in God's time.
Have I done everything I possibly can? Can you help me?
Son, in 35 years of religious studies, I've come up with only two hard, incontrovertible facts. There is a God, and I'm not him.
Don't sweat it.
One day we're gonna be strong. Greetings, fellow Earth babies, and welcome to Post-punk Heartstrings. I'm Jimmy James S. Butler, and you were listening to One Day the Passion by the band The Swoon. And we have as our very special guests Daniel Lancaster and Emmett Dacey. Unfortunately, Austin Dacey couldn't join us, but I was so excited to be able to talk to Daniel and Emmett. The Swoon was one of those bands that came out in the late 80s and early 90s, made a significant impact on many, and then disappeared, never to be heard from again. Or did they? Several years ago, Jeffrey Kotoff acquired the rights to the music of the Swoon and plans to release their debut album, as well as Spectacular Illusions, which was never really released. And I think the plans are to release those albums on vinyl. And so many fans who have been pining for more music from the Swoon will be able to grab those up if and when they come out. I know it's kind of up in the air right now. There was a lot going on with Jeffrey in, I think, the past year or so. So hopefully life is settling for him, and I know that he is still planning to release these albums, and hopefully that'll be sometime in 2026. As I said, so many fans fell in love with the Swoon immediately when they heard their first debut, and songs like Whose Hands Are These, One Day the Passion, Sweet Alley, and Speak Soft, among so many others on that album, really made an instant impact on the listener. And so many of us were wanting so much more, and throughout the years have wondered what happened to the band. It was so hard to find any information on this band throughout the years, especially before the dawning of the age of the internet. And I can't speak for every fan, but I do remember madly searching eBay and different online websites before all of the social media became about, and trying to find anything about this band and trying to find the CD at the time. I think I had the cassette That's the first time I heard the band. I bought the cassette in a little bookstore. So at some point, somebody put a whole stash of their debut album, The Swoon, on eBay, and I was able to buy up a copy. I think it was like $3 at the time. But I know there were a whole bunch more because whoever it was kept posting it over and over again. So I don't believe you can hear them on Spotify or Pandora or possibly iTunes, but I know they have SwoonTube that you can go and listen to the music, and I believe there's some other sites that have posted their music as well on YouTube. I've been having quite a few life struggles. I've been moving, and it wasn't the most ideal moving situation. So I'm kind of in a funk and really down, and there's a lot of other stuff going on for me. I'm not going to bring everyone down by getting into everything, but I really am pushing to lift myself out of this situational and seasonal depression that I'm in. And I wanted you listeners to know that it means a lot to me to be able to focus myself on something that I really enjoy, to try to lift my spirits and keep pushing forward. So with that said, I believe we will just jump right into our conversation with a couple of guys from Cottonwood, Minnesota. Hey guys.
Hello. How's it going?
We got Emmett and Daniel. All right.
Hi.
Very prompt.
That's
very
right.
Prompt. Yeah. Appreciate that. Is
Austin.
Austin. I was trying to come up with his name. Austin. Yeah. Is he joining us?
I don't know.
We'll find out. We'll find out, I guess. Huh? How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing good.
You're looking good. Do you feel as good as you look?
I think Emmett does.
Emmett's beaming. That's right.
Yeah, I'm looking out my window at the Pacific Ocean, so it's hard not to.
Oh my gosh.
Good attitude.
Yeah. Hard to complain. Yes. So, thanks a lot for joining us. I was waiting for Austin, but thanks a lot for taking the time out, guys, because your time's valuable. So thanks so much for letting us chat with you and take you into the past a ways. Right? Hear about some things you're probably tired of talking about, but who knows? But we have some hard hitting questions ready for you.
Very hard.
You want to start by talking about love? Or take a trip down to Gypsy Street, maybe. Or I'm being stupid. You'll get used to it. Jim knows, right?
Oh, I know.
But yeah, we got a lot of questions. I told Jim I was adding questions right up into the a few minutes ago, which usually I don't do. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get to them all. I left a lot off because I knew we probably weren't going to get to them all. So
I don't think we ever usually get them all, do we?
Not quite, no.
Not usually.
We come pretty close, but yeah. Depends on how the guests talk. Are you guys going to talk a lot?
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
See?
sure.
We're off to a bad start.
I'm loquacious, so it'll be no problem.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. Your loquaciousness, is that the word?
How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
It's fine. Thank God. Who's got a puppy back there?
Yeah, it's Frank and Fiona, 2 German Shepherds.
Okay.
Yeah, they're my
They're always in the background, which is good. Makes for good conversation.
Yeah.
I say we jump in and we'll see if Austin deigns to, join us.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on these days, so he may be
no problem
just
whatsoever.
a little bit running late or something. But yeah, we should go ahead and start. We're happy to be here. Happy to the people are still interested in this one.
Yeah. On two people anyway.
We're very interested. I've heard from other people, so I think that's pretty impressive. Given there's more or less the one release, and a lot of people don't even feel like they disappeared. What happened to them?
Well, that's accurate.
Well, it would have been different today, I think, but then it's like, there wasn't all the technology and stuff to go find, what happened. So, but yeah, we like to start at the beginning because that's a very good place to start. So how did you guys all meet, and who first said, hey, we should start a band? Either one of you jump in.
So we're next door neighbors. So how did we meet? It's hard to remember a time when we didn't know each other. Emmett was maybe, I don't know, 6, 7 when I moved into the neighborhood. My family moved into the neighborhood there, and Austin, the little brother. So we were just next door neighbors, spent all of our waking hours together if we could, and just kind of ran in a pack. All of my older siblings were quite a bit older. I'm the youngest. So I more or less adopted these two as my close siblings, the Dacey brothers, and grew up in their house, sort of. So, and they grew up in my house, so we were just kind of like had that going on since childhood.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was even earlier than that, Daniel. Because one of my earliest memories of my human existence is when Austin was born. He was born at home. Daniel and I lived across an alley, basically, from each other. And Austin was born at home. He's 3 years younger than I am, so I would have been 3 if I can do math. And I remember walking. My parents sent me away because there was a midwife and a doctor in there, and they didn't want me there. Mucking things up. So they sent me over to Daniel's house, and because they knew your parents and they knew that you were about my age, and so that might have been one of the earliest connections that we made. We did a lot of stuff together. We were into riding our bikes around at night and playing Dungeons and Dragons, other things that sort of predated the music. But I actually have a hard time remembering just how the music.
I have a pretty clear memory that it was you that brought the music. That you were the one who was the first to start spinning LPs and getting us into listening to music. There was this program, like where we lived. We grew up in a town of 800 people, so there just wasn't much to do. And there was this program that we would watch on Friday nights or Saturday nights called Night Tracks that would play the MTV style videos back in the 80s. And so we would get together and watch those. And then Emmett brought in he introduced us to U2, and that was a significant moment. He started taking drum lessons, and then we just kind of collected around that drum set. Yeah.
How old were you, Emmett, when you started playing drums or learning to play drums?
I would guess 12, 13, something like that. Daniel's right that we had a lot of records in our house. My parents were very, very musically inclined. They both played instruments and sang. So we had everything from Bach to the Beatles to Bob Dylan to Joan Baez and Rolling Stones, Odetta, just a wide variety of music that my parents were always playing. And then we sort of got into the early 80s music of the time. But I think I started playing drums because of Jerry, I think his name was Jerry Spicer from Men at Work.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Admired his drumming style and kind of emulated him in the early days, I think. But yeah, I put together a drum set from ice cream buckets and things like that at first. And then my parents saw that I was really interested in it, so they offered to get me drum lessons in Marshall, which was the nearest, big city, 12 miles away. And then I got a red kind of hacky drum set at some point, and that's probably when we first started getting me and Austin together. Yeah. I think that was the core initially. I forget kind of when Gina came in, because she didn't live on the same block. So.
Right, she was like 3 blocks away.
It's an outsider.
Other side of town.
In a town of 800, 3 blocks. That's like across town.
It was on the other side of the tracks. So.
Yeah, exactly.
We were just goofing around. We were just goofing around, but we just never stopped. We didn't know when to stop. We were just like,
Yeah. So you mentioned your town, Cottonwood, Minnesota. Yep. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And so how did that, contribute to your creativity? Like being from that small town, did that have an impact, or just you guys were just cool anyway?
We definitely weren't cool. But yeah, I don't know if it impacted creativity. I guess it certainly made us. I mean, we certainly relied on our imaginations a lot, just in general, growing up in a place like that. I think
it sounds like your parents were maybe influenced your creativity somewhat.
The Dacey parents were artists. I mean, they were both poets, and so they didn't belong in Cottonwood in a sense. They were academics. They were teaching at the college and in Marshall, and so it was like it was an island in the Dacey house, an island of higher learning and culture. And so I think a lot of the influence and the creativity was coming out, was radiating out of that house. So that's, I think, where the center of that was
coming across the alley.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you guys were like super young when you started the band. I don't think I've ever heard of a band with the members that were that young, like all of them together. There's some young ones in U2, right? Toad the Wet Sprocket, I think they were pretty young. I don't think they were as young as you
Probably
guys.
a little
though.
older by the time we started getting serious about it, because it took a long time to even get a guitar. It was we were probably, I think I would have been 16, when we were and Emmett would have been 15 then when we were actually saying, hey, we're a band and we're going to start, writing songs and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but that means Austin was like 12 or 13.
Well,
Yeah.
And Gina was in there in between somewhere, right? I guess. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? I mean,
you should hear those. You should hear those original cassette tapes. It sounds like, it sounds exactly like you.
Well, I don't even like to think about what I was doing when I was 12 or whatever. But yeah, that's really cool. What were those first? Speaking of those first rehearsals, like what were those like? Like where was it at? Were you in a basement, a garage, wherever you could be to plug in? Yeah, a little bit of both. Is that what you said? What was your main, did you have a main hub like where, hey, you guys can play here? Your parents' house or whatever?
Initially, it was Daniel's basement, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. We moved into the garage for a little while. Then there was a garage up off of Main Street. I think that was connected to my parents' print shop. We were in that for a little while. There was the unfinished section of the Gillespie house when we were up in the unheated attic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, then there was that church building on Main Street that we moved into and got kicked out of. Yeah, a lot of different.
Why'd you get kicked out?
Right.
Well,
I got a big that one. What was that?
That's because we were playing Dungeons and Dragons in there.
Oh, that was my next question coming up, man. You know how to do this. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Let me just ask my next question, because this wasn't part of the question, but your dad was a minister. Is that right?
My dad.
Daniel? Yeah. I was going to say I read that you were in D&D group before the band, and it had, there was a stigma in religious circles in the 80s for sure. And I wondered how that affected the band, or that maybe that was before the band or whatever, but and how it affected you. And did you care? whether anybody thought anything.
My father was not keen on it. He was not. Yeah. He didn't like that we were doing that. That's for sure. But the band, it didn't really affect it. We were a Christian band, so that kind of solved that conflict, that potential conflict. It was I had a good relationship with my parents. So.
You didn't throw out at concerts. You didn't throw out tokens or whatever. I've never played D&D. I'm ignorant.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah. Dice.
I should have. I don't. Yeah. I went to a Christian school, so it's like none of the people I knew would even touch it.
Right.
Okay, dice. You guys didn't throw dice out at concerts.
Yeah. I think. Okay. There was an overlap period, but I think the Dungeons and Dragons went out the window. Once we really started getting serious about the band, because
you're too busy.
It takes a lot of time. Yeah, we needed a lot of practice.
Yeah, we did.
This is kind of a question we throw in here. All of a sudden, I'll ask this question: what was the first album that you ever bought with your own money, or you were gifted, something you really wanted? Like a band or artist or whatever, and there we always qualify it with there's no judgment along with this question. You guys seem so cool that you're probably your answers are great, and you had all the your parents, Emmett's, all their music to pick from, so probably a lot of good stuff. You already mentioned a bunch of great bands. So
yeah, it'd be hard pressed to remember what I bought first with my own money. Versus what was gifted by my parents when I would mention, a band.
What's your first album that you really remember? What was that?
I'm thinking Emmett's first album might have been a Men at Work album. I'm not sure.
By the way, side note, Men at Work is so underrated, I think, for me.
Oh, sure.
I love those albums. Yeah, have you watched the, I can't remember the name of it, but the Colin the documentary of the lead singer. Yeah, Colin Hayes documentary. I think it's free on streaming somewhere, and it's so good. It's so good about the career and afterwards, their like rise and fall and what he did. Anyway, sorry, I'm geeking out a little bit.
A little tangent.
Yeah, a little tangent. That's what you get. But sorry, I probably kind of interrupted you, but let's go back to the albums.
Back to you.
Men at Work. Yeah. Back to you. Back to you.
Men at Work. The first album I think was Business as Usual, right? That was.
Yep.
So yeah, that
and then Cargo is the second one.
And then Cargo. Yeah, those two are great. I actually have.
You had that Beatles album though. Do you remember the Beatles album with the picture on the actually on the LP, like printed on the LP?
Wow.
Yeah, we had a Sgt. Pepper's picture disc at my house. I don't know if I bought that or my parents had it. We had a few Beatles records.
I have a photograph of you holding that, so
Nice.
that's why it sticks in my mind.
Yeah, Sgt. Pepper's was a pretty big album for me at that age.
That's a great album. Yeah. That was one of my, I didn't have a lot of the Beatles albums, but that I had like a handful, maybe 2 or 3. And that was one of them that I bought on purpose, like sought out. It's a great album.
Yeah, well, the Beatles were a big deal for us when we were younger. I do remember going through the Dacey's whole collection, and they had a lot of Dylan, so we were listening to a lot of Dylan and stuff like that.
How about you, Daniel? What as far as albums?
Our peers weren't really listening to, because this was the early '80s, and so we were listening to a music collection that was maybe 10 years older than us, or 15 years older than us. That's what was going on.
Yeah. I'm sure that shaped you as a band as well, especially your youth, what you were doing in your youth, all those influences. What type of venues were you playing when you started playing? Venues, churches, wherever,
Youth group functions, churches, that sort of thing, wherever we could play. American Legion halls, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you have any memorable gigs around from that time?
From those earliest days?
Yeah. Or any time, but yeah.
No, they were mostly embarrassing. I have a lot of embarrassment. Remember, it's like
those are good stories.
Yeah, right. I'm glad I brought that up. Sorry.
You'd rehearse and like think that we're gonna, and then you go out there and I was such a spaz that it would just like everything would just fall apart on stage, and so I was the bass player. Okay, so originally I was playing bass guitar, which I had absolutely no talent for, no sense of rhythm, really, just absolutely no musical talent whatsoever. So it was just always a disaster. It was just like a train wreck that was going to happen every time we took the stage. So eventually, eventually we got a bass player, and that's when things started to click. And that's when things started to really come together. But that was near the end. That was like we were already spooling down at that point.
Like as far as like as you learned how to play and began to play more. What was your, talk about any of the gigs that you felt really good about, as you began to, be more practiced? And also, like, was there a favorite song that you performed live, leading up to the Neverland and Benson release?
I think for me, some of the gigs that I remember as not as train wrecky as Daniel seems to. We're a few years on, and we're out of Cottonwood. I think that's when I felt like we were sort of starting to at least
get our stride.
Get something that we weren't totally embarrassed when we came off the stage. And so we went to some like the Sunshine Festival, I think, in Wilmer, played on a side stage there maybe or something, or we'd go up to some of the bigger churches in the Twin Cities that actually had like a music venue, maybe even separate from the church, but it was like for youth, youth music gatherings and things. And they'd have like a real PA and a real light rack, it wouldn't be anything fancy. And so I think part of that feeling of proficiency probably just comes from the fact that you're playing on better equipment and you actually, sound better just because you got a better system. Sure. And the crowds were bigger and there were like, people that we didn't actually know that seem to like the music, right? I mean, when we're playing in Cottonwood to our 15 friends, of course they're going to be nice to us. But I think playing out up in Minneapolis and some of these other venues, which was a few years into things.
Here's a memorable gig. There's this Battle of the Bands competition in Falcon Heights, which is a suburb of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And if you won this Battle of the Bands, you would get to play at the Sunshine Festival in Wilmer, which was a big deal in the CCM world. This was a really big deal. So we were pretty stoked up about this, and I think we actually took 2 swings at that thing. So the first time it was kind of like, oh, okay, we're just feeling it out, and the second time we went back and we took that stage and just came out blazing, like guns blazing on that stage, and we had this song called "Sweet Sweet Heaven" that we dropped at that venue, and it was a real banger, and we won that competition. But I remember there was someone there who had a club on River Street in Riverside in Minneapolis, and that same day they had been at the show, and they said, "Hey, we don't have an act tonight. The act fell through or something like that. Would you guys come over to our club and play at this club?" And we were just like gobsmacked and just like, well, yes, we would. So that was, to me, that was a really, that I remember that as a fantastic, and that's when things really started to turn around for us as well. And so
I had totally forgotten that. What club did we end up playing at?
Okay, the club, what was it called? It was on Riverside. It was called the Beach Club. The Beach Club. And I remember we ran out of songs. And so then we ran out of songs that night at the Beach Club. And so then we just started, we did an impromptu knocking on heaven's door that became sort of a staple after that. That we like the encore song. It's like you get the encore song and you didn't have anything. Well, I got nothing. So we pulled out knocking on heaven's door. That was pretty boss. So I've always like that was like that was that same year. Then we must have won that competition at Cornerstone, or maybe it was the next year that we won the competition at Cornerstone. So that's when things really started to click for us, and that Battle of the Bands at the Cornerstone Festival. And the big prize for that was an album contract with a label. So
wow.
We did it. We hit the stage and we came out guns blazing, on that. And we had already released the cassette of the Benson Beatrice, as a little demo tape, right? And so we had that music ready to roll, and we won that competition. And then the story of the album is a whole nother that never came through. That never came through.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that was before you recorded the.
What was the name of that label, Emmett? Or can we not?
I'd like to know.
Should we not?
No, I'd like to know. If you don't want to say, don't say it. But it's been long enough, and it's probably folded. I'm sure.
Do they still exist?
Many years ago.
I have no idea. I have no idea. The guy who ran it, his name was Caesar, and
I saw that that's the guy that supposedly signed you. Was it Wonderland?
No.
No, okay.
No, but this label,
that was before that.
They had a couple metal bands, some Christian metal bands, something like that on there. But it was a real label, and they were really producing stuff, and they were really, the big thing then was to get distribution, and they had distribution, and that was the big thing. And so they offered us a contract, which was probably a pretty boilerplate standard contract. But there was this, you receive it in advance and you use the advance to record, and then they would sell the albums, and once they had recouped the advance, then you would start to get a royalty, and the royalty was like, I don't know, it was pretty low. It was like 50 cents on the unit or something like that, or 75 cents on the unit. And so we didn't know, like, we're like, okay, is this good? Is this not good? Is this standard? We don't know. And so our parents were like, well, you need to have a lawyer look at that. So we had a lawyer look at that, and the lawyer's like, well, what do you want it to say? And so we said, well, we came back with some pretty preposterous.
What are we paying you, man?
So then the label kicked that back to us. And so he said, why don't you come out here to Chicago and we'll talk about it. So we drove out to Chicago. We just piled in our vehicle. All of us drove out to Chicago and sat down and had this conversation with him. And, it was like back and forth, back and forth. The negotiations weren't really the problem. We were not like inflexible or anything like that. But what happened was, as I recall, what I remember happening was when he found out that the Daceys were not Protestants, that they were Catholics, it was game over. And he kicked that back and he said, well, you need to go back and get in the same church. If you're not in the same church, I can't work with you.
Was this Ireland?
Yeah, really.
I'm telling you, like, I would think the guy was Italian, but with a name like Caesar. But
That's true.
it was. Anyway, that's how I remember. Is that how you remember it, Emmett?
So I do now remember the name of the label. It was Graceland.
I'm familiar with I've heard of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were around for a little while at that time. This was mid-late 80s, I guess. Caesar Kalinowski, I think, was his name.
Yeah, okay, definitely not an Italian.
Yeah.
No, but
creative parents, I guess. I don't know with the name.
I don't remember the exact years and things like that, but I recall it slightly differently. I think he just wanted the whole band to have like a church that we were accountable to. I do think it was sort of like he wanted it to be the same church. I don't remember it being the fact that we were Catholic as being the sticking point so much as just wanting to know that we were all pretty solidly grounded in a
Protestant church. I'm just kidding.
I don't even think it was Protestant because your dad was evangelical free, right? I guess that's a sect of.
That's a Protestant. That's a Protestant church.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, my father wasn't. He wasn't at that time leading a church. So that was probably
very deflating.
That was sort of a disappointment. And so when Charlie Peacock heard about that, and he heard that we've been, rebuffed by the label. He offered to take us out to California and work with Derry Dowdy of the choir, and we used their studio to record the Neverland material.
Yeah, now that you bring that up, did you stay with his parents?
Yeah,
I read that, but I don't know if that was true or not.
House. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they had a guest house. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. And follow-up question, because I'm jumping around a little bit, but since you brought it up, so what's your perspective, your memory of Charlie on the production of the album? Because the one side was not produced. It was by Charlie Peacock. It was Jim somebody. I forget his last name. I have it here in my notes somewhere. Shirey? Is that close?
Schreier?
Yeah,
Shire.
I think he pronounced it Schreier.
It's just called James, produced by James on the cassette, right?
That's right.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But the Neverland, I guess, sessions or whatever, they called it Neverland, right? Because I guess that's where it was. There was something I read that I didn't want to assume is true. I just wanted to hear from you guys. Like, what was your perspective on Charlie and his involvement or lack of involvement with producing what was recorded at Neverland?
I can give you my thoughts first, and then maybe Daniel will have a better memory of how we got connected with Charlie. But I don't really remember sort of the initial connection that was made there. I do remember that around the same time we were talking with Terry Taylor, who, between Terry and Charlie, they were like, gods at that time in the Christian music scene, to us as well as, obviously many, many crowds. And we just admire both of them. So to have, either one of them sort of reaching out to us. I mean, I remember standing in Daniel's kitchen when Terry Taylor called. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Terry Taylor.
Wow.
So that was a big deal. But I don't remember if we were talking to him at the same time. And I think with Terry, there were just some logistical things that it wasn't going to work out. Whereas I just recall it with Charlie, it seemed like, it was going to work out with his schedule. He was going to be in California, in Southern California at a time that we could do it. And, he had the connection with the choir and their studio at Neverland. And I think, had Derry seen us at Cornerstone?
I don't know if Derry had seen us at Cornerstone. I know Charlie did. Charlie saw the show at Cornerstone, and he felt like I remember him saying that was like watching the Rolling Stones take stage. And he said, I don't know what's going to happen with this album contract, but if there's an opportunity for me to produce you guys, I'd want to be that person. And so that's how we ended up in that relationship. Yeah. So I know there is this. I've read that too, that he wasn't that involved in the production, if that's what you're alluding to. It's not really true. He was very involved in the production, but he was also very distracted at the time. He was having some sort of like, I think we were in there only like 2 weeks, which with that analog recording, that we were doing, that was like, you needed every bit of 2 weeks to lay down those tracks in those days. And he was I remember that he had some sort of like, there was some sort of issue back home that he was trying to manage on the phone while we were trying to record and such. And so, but it wasn't a big problem. Look, we pretty much handled the production ourselves on the Benson Beatrice material, and not the mastering or anything like that, but so we knew what we were doing. We knew what we were doing, and Charlie was definitely a guiding hand every step of the way. He made the selections on the songs, on what actually made the cut. And so forth. And because I know that like initially we laid down a lot of tracks, like we laid down a lot of stuff when we first got there. I wish I had those, but I'm sure we just recorded over them, because like tape was so expensive, it was like,
He was definitely involved in, and Derry also, I think, probably could have been credited as a co-producer in some ways, because he was in there, he was behind the board a lot, along with Dave Hackbarth, I think, was Reverland, and so those two were in there all the time. As Daniel said, Charlie had to step out at times, but he was around start to finish, just kind of more sporadically is how I remember it. But he would always come in and give his thoughts on things. But yeah, Derry was really, really helpful. In particular, working with my brother Austin, who I wish he was on, but he's one of my favorite guitarists, and I thought that Derry really sort of brought out the magic in Austin's guitar tones and textures on that record in particular.
Let's briefly talk about the name. You changed your name from Restricted Access to Access. You take off the restricted, is that right? And then you went to the Swoon. So talk about that. I've read about it, but I want to hear you talk about where you got the name and what was prompted the change, other than
where we got which name?
You what? What was that?
Which name?
The Swoon.
Yeah, okay.
You can talk about.
Emmett can tell you about the name The Swoon. The name Restricted Access was just it. That was a throwaway garage band name that we had just unfortunately selected. Back in those days, we had bands like there was an Minneapolis band that had won the Star Search contest called Limited Warranty that we recorded in their studio and such. So that was just sort of like an '80s kind of like way to name a band.
So
that's right. And then we dropped Restricted just because it sounded sort of off-putting or exclusive, and we wanted to be more open. But then
accessible.
We never
granting access to the band.
Granting access. Yeah. And we didn't want to have any kind of negative connotation with sort of spirituality or something, and then, we never felt like it fit, especially as we grew musically. It didn't really fit kind of sort of, I think, where we were going thematically, in particular with Daniel's, lyrics and Austin's songs. And so we were looking for something a little more poetic. And as Daniel mentioned, both my parents are published poets, and my mother's first book, the title was The Swoon, and we were always kind of taken with that word. So, and it seemed appropriate, maybe a little too literal in some sense for music, but yeah. So then that one stuck. That was from my mom's book.
So some early reviewers compared you guys to U2, which kind of sounds like maybe that's fair. Is that's appropriate, right?
Huge influence. Yeah, huge influence.
Yeah. And I think there's along with this, there's an aspect of your performances, your live shows, that are very kind of performance art in the way that you're pairing up commentary with the music, and you kind of create art, much like U2 did with Bono was doing a lot of that. Commentary and, pontificating sometimes, if you will, but you guys, you do a lot of that. I don't know if that influenced you, listening to U2, like, a la Bullet the Blue Sky and stuff like that, the live versions. But I just want you to say that I've listened to a lot of the live versions on YouTube that you put on, and like you guys really pull it off doing that. There might be bands who try to pull off that type of thing, but it might be like, it's kind of derivative sort of. But I just want to say, like, it's just amazing listening to those live versions. So can you comment on that, or what are your thoughts about that?
The local paper, the local arts rag here in the Twin Cities was called City Pages, where they would cover the art scene. And when they reviewed our shows, they said art dorks. So,
Love it. I love it.
I think that's kind of it. I mean, we were sort of art dorks, but I mean, from my perspective, I always felt like we were channeling something. Like we would get up on the stage. I wanted to like have some sort of spiritual moment with the audience. That I wanted them to feel like something transcendent happened here, and that I'm not, because when I would go to a show that I felt that I would leave the show feeling like I'm not the same person, something that was amazing. It's just like that sort of like there'd be this electric energy. It's from the connection with the crowd, but also you felt a connection with the band. And there was this moment, oftentimes in a show where you would enter into like a higher shared consciousness with the audience. And that was like, I wanted to, whatever was cooking in that soup, that's what I wanted to stir up and be dishing out and serving up when we did our shows. And so I think that was kind of like, I always grasped, and sometimes it wasn't there. It would just fall flat. And we would get off the stage and say, well, the spook wasn't there tonight, but sometimes we would say the spook was there, is like that we felt the spirit in that one. And so that was the difference for us. I think it was magic, it wasn't just music, it was magic.
Nice. How about you, Emmett? You have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely Daniel's side of the stage. I got to hide behind my drums and was quite happy there. But, certainly going back to when you started asking the question, talking about U2, Bono, and how he's, to me, that was always a way that they kind of elevated their songs into something new. And I think that sort of ties in with what Daniel was saying, that we're trying to take these things and make them a vehicle for even more meaning in that live setting. And one thing I think, I don't know if people think about it much, but I saw a lot of U2 shows, and people might think Bono's just ad-libbing all that stuff, but it is all, it's written. He's a writer, as is Daniel, and so sort of taking the song lyric and then finding some new angle on it, the way Bono does with bringing in other people's lyrics or things like that, or talking about the news. Obviously some of it is improvised too, even with Daniel, but yeah, I thought it was a really effective way of just sort of making it into a little bit something bigger than just, four guys bashing, making a big noise.
When you guys recorded Neverland and Ben's on, did you feel like, were you happy with that as far as like, it's very different than your live performances. It's much more, it's just different. I don't know, I'll say that. How did you feel about that? Did you feel like it? Were you happy with it? Did you feel like it captured everything? Or did you have any disappointment, as far as like, we wish would have done this differently, or were you satisfied? Yes and no?
Yeah, Daniel probably have his own view. I think every recording captures some element of the band, right? You can't record something that's not there. As you are alluding to, there were flavors and character songs, that had very different character than the ones that got laid down there. Daniel, I'd forgotten that Charlie picked the Neverland songs, but I remember we really wanted to do Pride of Lions, Drive of Dragons, which is like this 8-minute long kind of prog rock opus, and Charlie in his wisdom shot that down. But so we had very different kind of stuff going on that just didn't make it into those recording sessions. But no, I'm happy with them. I'm not happy with the playing necessarily. You never are when you listen back to yourself. But I also hear, I think the songs speak for themselves, but they're just one dimension of the band. I feel like, and if people ever get to hear Spectacular Illusions, I feel like that was where the recorded Swoon and the live Swoon had really merged. We had become a lot more proficient on our instruments. Our songwriting was much more economical, but also, I think more nuanced. And I think that recording, if anyone's heard it, and was seeing our live shows at the time, I think that most faithfully captured, the Swoon at that time, on tape.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know that I don't think we had any complaints about the way the music came off, except that it didn't represent the full gamut of what we did on stage. So when we took the stage, we played all those songs. That sounded like us, but there was also a harder edge that was more of a punk influence going on in our music, and so that wasn't really being well represented in that particular collection of songs. I think that was probably the only thing that. But yeah, Spectacular Illusions. It's what I really regret is that Spectacular Illusions didn't get the kind of like professional recording attention. Instead it's just like we laid that down live, and so it is what it is. When you lay it down live, it is what it is.
Yeah, and we can talk about that a little bit more as far as the Neverland album. Do you have a favorite side? Because they're very different, right? So
yeah, they were
the same, I guess.
But Daniel may recall the timing better, but they were recorded at least a year apart, right? Yeah. So yeah, very, very different sides. So yeah, I don't even think of that as one album, really. I think of it as two albums.
Yeah, it really was. I don't prefer one over the other. To me, they represent two different eras. It's like nowadays, like a year goes by and you wouldn't know it. But when you're 17, 18, a year is a long time, So that really like seemed like, well, that was a long time ago that we recorded that one. We got all this new stuff now. So you can hear the difference. You can hear the difference in the songwriting, at least, as over that period, kind of go from more of a pop sound to a more thoughtful, contemplative type of thing. So but it's all cool.
A big difference is that on Neverland we had a bass player. That was the turning point, right?
That's after Troy had joined.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So Troy joined between the two sides, basically, of the album.
Okay, so had Gina left, or she's still there at that point?
She's still there.
Oh, there.
Okay.
Yeah, so Neverland had all five of us. The largest incarnation.
Glory Day.
The glory. How about the cover art? Well, how was the decision made on the cover art? It's just like abstract, blurry. Can't see anybody in the. You can, but you can't see who's who. Was that deliberate? Did you feel like that lent to the mystique of the band?
That was, look, I hear the truth of that. Charlie Peacock hired the photographer, and the photographer was a guy named, I think, Dobson. And he did a lot of bands back in the day. He did the 77s, and he was a band photographer, and he was really good. He really knew his stuff. But the thing was, I think as I recall this going down, Charlie said, and he tried to spin this nicely. He said, like, I want it to be like people to pick up this album and say, who is this? Just like it to really be a mystery.
Success.
But the reality is, I think he didn't think we had a good look, and so I think it was like, for real. So he told Dobson to take some pictures that are deliberately with out of focus, and he took a few, and that's what that is.
It's interesting that I have
the photos.
The way things.
Photos.
Do you?
Interesting. In focus, and so
interesting.
Yeah.
Was that the right choice then? Or you? You're going to comment that's
if that re-release ever comes through, there's another shot that's the exact same shot that's in focus, and so if that re-release ever comes through, that will be the one that goes on the cover. It'll be like the actual photograph.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Details.
Yeah, I think it's kind of ironic that it's just because the way things unfolded, it's kind of lent to like, who are these guys? What they're gone now. I love them, but they're gone. I can't find them anywhere. I don't even know who they look like.
That's right.
So I think that's kind of funny, but not so much funny then, but for you, but hindsight,
It was fun. I mean, the release of that album for us, like, we didn't know that it was even selling. We had no idea. We received no.
I was going to ask you that.
No, we had no idea. It was not, we ended up putting together 2 demo tapes because Charlie, the Neverland session was supposed to be a demo to shop to a label, that Charlie was going to shop that to a label then and land a real, like a major label deal. And at the end of the day, he felt like, nobody's going to bite on this. And so he cut it loose. And so then we found someone to put it together. This would be that Narrow Path Records to put these 2 demos together and make a release, working with Refuge Records for distribution. But Refuge Records, they never reported. There was some big extortion scandal or something like that, or I don't know what happened. But we lost. We lost on that too. So we didn't know. I didn't know there were people listening to the Swoon until we put up a Facebook page.
People seriously?
Yeah. Wow. We did, other than like the college tour that we would do and that sort of thing. We in the Minneapolis club scene, we had our own little following here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. That was small potatoes. We didn't really know. If we had known that there was like actually people listening to us, maybe we would have made some different decisions along the way. I don't know.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, just slightly. So can you talk about your songwriting process? How the songs would unfold for you, for the band? Did everyone have a hand in it? Did you all bring ideas? It seems very deliberate to your arrangements, and matching the instrumentation to the emotional content and stuff like that, and choosing the instruments and the sounds that go with that. That was way too long of a question. I apologize.
No, I think I know what you're asking. I mean, again, too bad Austin's not here, but my recollection at least is that sort of Austin would come up with musical ideas on guitar and or piano, and Daniel would separately be working on, lyric ideas, and then they would you two would sort of get together and try to find things that matched up. I mean, there may have been cases where it was more organic, where we were sort of jamming and that kind of thing, but But my recollection, at least in the later period, is that it was kind of like that there was two halves, and you guys would then get together and sift through ideas. But
yeah, no, I'd bring a notebook and he'd have a whole bunch of songs, and we kind of like bounce them back and forth. And sometimes I would give him a lyric and ask him to find something, put something together for that. And sometimes he'd have a song and just kind of like a song and a melody, and I would just kind of make up lyrics and placeholder lyrics. I remember that being with Whose Hands Are These. We had the riff and we had the melody, but we didn't have any lyrics, and just kind of like making up BS lyrics until something started to stick.
Till I have seen the glory lights on a dazzle. My gloves, these are the hands that bled for above.
It seems like there's a mixture of realism and poetic imagery in the songs. Like some of them, they kind of feel like stories, but they're also then you go into this sort of a mystical imagery, poetic. So they're kind of hand in hand, and it kind of, maybe gives me as a listener sort of a reflection of in relation to like what life is like. So
yeah.
Is that kind of the what you were going for?
Yeah, that's it. The idea was that each song should be a story. I wanted them to be stories. I mean, with Spectacular Illusions, I was working towards like a collection of songs that would be like a Grimm's fairy tales kind of like collection of stories, of story songs. We never made it that far, but each one was supposed to be a story, and I was very much influenced by magical realism at the time, which was a genre of literature that I was introduced to in college, and it just really, that seemed to me like, oh, magical realism is what's real. That to me felt like, no, it's magical realism is the real thing. This is the real world. And so that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted the songs to like start here and pick you up and put you somewhere else on a different plane. That's kind of the vibe and this still, if I was to do it today, that's still what I would be doing.
So it sounds, my next question was, maybe you just answered it. How did your writing shift after Neverland, that album? And it sounds like maybe that's basically what you're answering. My
writing was headed towards a more folk direction, like more folk music type of direction. Mm-hmm. I got this book by Carl Sandburg called American Song Bag that was a collection of old American folk songs, right, that he had put together. And I thought that was fantastic. And I was like, oh, we should do folk songs. And so I was trying to go in that direction, but I was also like really loving the idea of retelling fairy tales. At least for one album, it's sort of a concept album, right? That's what I was doing. Austin, having a bass player to play with, Troy Bartman, man, he was having a great time, just like creating these riffs, complex riffs these interweaving melodies that he could like communicate back and forth with the bass guitar. And so that was something that was really developing nicely. The sound was maturing. That's for sure.
You just answered my next question: how Troy, influenced the chemistry and changed the band, and contributed to that.
Well, look, Troy. When we took in Troy, we had to teach him to play his bass guitar. He was just another kid in Cottonwood. We thought he's got a good look.
Yeah. How old was he? 17?
Oh no.
Older.
Younger.
Gosh.
I think so.
Yeah, he was the youngest by a couple of years, even, I think, and it caused I recall a little bit of consternation amongst his parents when we all moved up to the Twin Cities and he was still in high school. We were all out, and I forget how that played out, but anyway, he was. But yeah, he had no formal musical training of any kind, I don't believe, but he's probably one of the quickest learners I've ever seen, and he could just pick up an instrument and within a few days get semi-proficient on it. And yeah, his bass playing just added a lot, as Daniel said. Just freed and it freed up Daniel too, just to be more he can move around without knocking over mic stands with the bass neck, which she's doing.
You can grab your flute.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So how about the when Gina left, and who was helping out with like the synth or keys or piano?
I think Austin played keys a bit, but we actually were really focused on, I think, because of that extra dimension of Troy, and by the time Gina left, Troy and Austin had this really great kind of interplay between them musically that we already had enough going on that I don't think that we were really writing on keyboards. I mean, there's really
we weren't
any keyboards on Spectacular Illusions. It's all guitar and guitar-based drums and a bit of flute. So
we tried a few. We auditioned a few people to fill in for the keyboards, but we didn't really find anyone that really picked it up well. So we were open to it. We were open to adding, finding someone that would fill that spot, because it was missing. It was missing something. But yeah.
Yeah, it was harder to play some of those old keyboard focused songs.
Yeah.
Like whose hands I think Austin would play the intro on keys and then shift the guitar, and that was it, you know. But yeah, it definitely changed the sound.
So after that album, when you mentioned Spectacular Illusions, what were your plans as far as recording and getting a deal and trying to find one, and then why was it never released?
Well, no, it wasn't. It was never meant to be released. Spectacular Illusions, the album. That was I call that posthumously recorded because the band had already like said, okay, we're done, and then we got back. We got together to just lay down those songs to record them for posterity. I guess was the idea. I'm glad we did.
No, I'm really glad we did, and I hope it comes out. But yeah, I think at that point in the Neverland thing, as Daniel said, we just weren't aware that I think 5,000 copies were sold, around the U.S. And we were sort of just focusing on the upper Midwest colleges in Minneapolis, and it was just a tough thing to do, and I think we all started getting other interests. So yeah, I think within a few years after Neverland, it was kind of the end. Austin wanted to go off to college.
Yeah, he did. And I wanted to start a family and so forth.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but at some point there was I don't know if it was the record company, but somebody had like a stockpile of the CDs on eBay because I had the cassette a long time ago, and I got rid of it, not because I didn't like it, just because that was the great cassette purge of like 96 or something when I was shifting over to CDs. And I was looking for the CD forever. I didn't even know there was a CD made, a compact disc at the time. This was probably be in the late 90s. And all of a sudden, there was a whole bunch on eBay, sealed copies. So that's where I scored one. But it was really hard to find because the name of the band was such that you kept coming up with somebody has the album, or who's the band that has the song called The Swoon?
Pretty Fab Sprouts.
Yeah, I kept coming up with that, and I was like, oh, that's not right. And it was hard to find. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Somebody must have been, I don't know if they needed money and they had a stockpile, because I think I bought it for like $2, and I was like, oh man, I can't believe they're selling this for this. I don't think they could. I think if it was out, a sealed copy was out now, people would be paying more for it, I think. But because CDs have even gone out,
Sure.
skyrocketed, but I don't know. Were you guys even aware of that?
No.
No. Totally off your radar.
Yeah.
Radar. The Swoon was off the radar until until recently when we were contacted by Low Fidelity about a re-release. That's the first that we'd really reconnected even.
Let's talk about that a little bit since I'll jump around again. This is Jeffrey Kotoff. Is that it? That's how you say his last name, I think, or close to that.
So.
Yeah. And I know you have a song on a compilation because I just gave some money to help him out, and I think he gave that to all the fans or whatever. But how did that come about? Exactly. He just reached out to you guys.
Yeah.
And so now there are plans, which may be on hold.
There's been plans for 5 years. I don't
okay.
know. It's been 5 years. So yeah. I don't know.
I saw you started releasing videos. I think you even said like, "Hey, how about if we just put these out there on YouTube and see what happens?"
Yeah. He was. He says it's going to happen. I talked with him. I said, "Hey, we're going on this podcast, and they're going to ask about this."
Yep, 100%.
What's going on? What should I say? He said, "No, you just say it's going to happen, and we'll be looking for something next year. But we'll see. It's in God's hands. It's not. It's for us. It's not like we're hanging our lives on it or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a novelty thing.
But you hope it comes out.
Well, I think my hope would be to be able to release Spectacular Illusions, because the difficulty is that we did give him in the process early on, we did give Low Fidelity the rights, like to all of that. Like Low Fidelity owns all of that music. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I would like to be able to like release it into the wild.
Yeah.
Nothing else. But we're kind of married there.
What are the plans? So is there a re-release of the Neverland album? Is that one of the plans?
Yeah. So
Low Fidelity, and then Glory Lights. Is that right?
A GoFundMe to re-release Neverland, and it's a remastered re-release of Neverland on vinyl and CD and on Bandcamp, with a stretch goal on the Kickstarter, a stretch goal of releasing Spectacular Illusions. That's his plan.
Gotcha.
In God's hands.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That's a good way to look at it too. I'm going to try to keep my place because I'm jumping all over the place now, and that's great because that means you guys are talking. I want to talk about a few songs. There's no way I'll hit them all, but I want to start out with Epiphany. Okay. And this is a really cool song. I really like the music. Like there's like I don't know what it is, a synth maybe background to this. And it sounds like very post-punky to me. But I love that song. What are your comments or feelings about that song? Or can you tell me about how you came up with that?
I guess I can give you a few musical thoughts.
I'd love that.
That was one of the songs that we tried to record with Charlie. And I also remember that Derry said it was one of his favorite lyrics he had ever read, song lyrics. And I agree, it's one of Daniel's finer ones, and that's hard to pick from that group. But yeah, I mean, I remember just really liking the music, and it was one of the first songs I think where I really felt that we had sort of gotten to a more sophisticated place with marrying up some musical ideas and Daniel's lyrics, and still kept it original. And it was a bit, I mean, is this the sort of redone version that Daniel, is this the one we're talking about, Daniel, that you
Yeah, that's what they would have heard. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's
exactly that was the demo. All I did to redo it was to add some of a little bit more backing vocals, because it only had one vocal track.
That's right. Yeah. But no, it was always a favorite, to play live. And yeah, I was kind of bummed that it didn't make it on Neverland. But
I feel like the bass line is really great on that song as well.
Yeah, Troy's a really inventive player. I mean, I was actually sort of mentally prepped for this interview. I listened to Spectacular Illusions last night, and some of Troy's bass work on that is just so cool.
Yep.
I really hope folks get to hear it someday. But yeah, even on Neverland, which was right. I mean, he hadn't even been playing bass for a year when he did these tracks for Neverland.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's a quick study. But Daniel, I don't know in terms of your side of that song.
No, there's really not more to say about it. It is what it is. I do remember having a conversation with Charlie Peacock about this song in the studio, where he asked me, he said, okay, what's it mean? What's the meaning of this song? I was like, just whatever you want it to mean, Charlie.
Exactly right. Whatever you want it to mean. How many times has that been said on this podcast, Jim?
Several.
I sure hope that's not true.
Steve Kilby said that. Whatever you want it to mean, man. Not to me, luckily, but that's cool.
Never
And I listen.
I want to jump to a song because Emmett, you're being very. I think you're not talking a lot about your drumming and giving it the spotlight that it needs, and the element that it brings to a lot of these songs, especially the live versions are pretty amazing. What you're doing and what you bring. And I've been listening through all these repeatedly. And hearing some that I missed somehow because you got a big old list of videos on Swoon Tube, right? The Via Doloroso, that video, I think it's pretty long. What is that thing? It's like probably 10 minutes long at least, maybe, or something like that. And I think I don't know if it's true, but I think I read that you sometimes would end shows that way. And I think maybe you did in this concert footage. I'm not sure. And I think Austin came over and is on the drums with you, and everything's kind of just the drums are happening at the end, more or less. Just so amazing. And so amazing. And the whole mood that lends to that song live. It just gives me chills listening to that. I don't know if you guys, do you guys still feel that if you were to watch it? Are you feeling that, or for you, is it, conjuring anything like that?
First, thanks for the kind words. I did work very hard on my drum parts and tried to make them compositionally additive, not just be a beat. And yeah, that song has always, elicited a reaction. And so I think I probably still do get an emotional reaction when I hear that song, in part because I know how it connected with audiences almost every time. And it was kind of fun and special to have that drum outro with my brother. But yeah, that song, which I believe has the same chord progression as 1-3 Hill.
Yeah, I have that in my notes.
I wouldn't know that being a drummer, but yeah, I forget how we wrote that song. I'm sure it didn't start with that drum part, but I think, and I don't know how I came up with that drum part. It's pretty Larry Mullen kind of rolling tom.
Mm-hmm. Very much
with accents. So it's probably definitely a Larry inspired idea or kind of a groove there. But then, it ended up being a pretty powerful number. It would often be, I think, the penultimate number of the show, because we would finish that and then we would go into Go No Stop, which was, at least, in our really raucous days, that was how we tried to destroy the stage at the end. It was a nice transition from that kind of sweeping, rolling, anthemic thing into this, bashing rocker. But yeah, no, Via Dolorosa was always a fun song to play.
Daniel, I think if unless I'm getting the songs mixed up, you had a lot of commentary during this Vive version of this song. And one of my favorite ones, you're talking about a list of things, and I think you said all the fuck ups in this concert. Was that wrong? Was that correct?
Yeah.
It's kind of buried a little bit, but I was excited because I'm like, that's awesome that you guys were
rock. But
yeah. So anyway, I get excited about that stuff, especially from a Christian band in concert. So
we were a non-Christian band,
right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Tongue in cheek, but one of the other songs, I love all these songs from my college days from Neverland. And I don't know, I found it in a bookstore in Springfield, a Christian bookstore in Springfield, Missouri, that was near my college. And back in those days, if anything looked cool, maybe I had read something about it in a blurb in True Tunes News or some other magazine, but I grabbed it and listened to it, and my roommate and I fell in love with it and wore it out. Gypsy Street Legacy. We love that song, and we loved the mood and your vocal style, everything. But we loved the line, "Yes, I have a job." And you say that over and over again, and you're like, yes, I have a job. And then you say, ringing a bell. We used to sing that all the time. So anyway, I think you have a lot of standout lines in your writing, and that's just one that I, wanted to mention.
That was like, that was always the thing is like, you're going to get a real job, right? You're not going to, that was always like,
the parents,
you're at that age. It was like, you can't do this, don't think you're going to be doing this as a career, And of course we were wishing, hoping, dreaming that we could do it as a career, yes, I have a job, and so what is that job? Oh, Johnny B. Good. He could play that guitar just like he was ringing a bell. And that's, that was the pun going on there.
Cool. Where'd you come up with that song? Was that the premise?
That was the premise.
That was it.
The premise was
Down on Gypsy Street. That's awesome.
Was this sort of eclectic hippie arts community that we were part of, this sort of like, self-styled gypsy living. And, there was another band that we hung out with a lot from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls, they're called Children. And so we would talk and I'd think about them, and we would talk about these dreams and aspirations. And, it was just such a beautiful dream that we were actually going to be able to do something like this and sustain something like this. And that was really the premise of like, hey, if you just believe, we can make it work, Yeah.
That song, that line always resonated with audiences too. I think at one point we talked about making a line of T-shirts that would just say "Yes, I have a job," and then on the back maybe ringing a bell or something. But that was always a fun one to play live. Just you didn't ask, but a couple unprompted bits of trivia on that one. There's a drum break and there's like a clanging sound. That's the a jack from the band van. We were just trying to make some noise during that drum break, and I forget who went out and grabbed the tire iron from the van, and we were banging on that. And then there's something like static in there. I don't know if people remember that also during the drum break, and that was, I think, from a TV at the studio, right? We tuned it to the static channel, and then Derry and Dave and Austin were like moving the mic around and putting all these effects on it, and I thought that kind of came up kind of cool. But
very good. Speaking of T-shirts, do you think you guys will ever make the Beatrice T-shirts again with the lyrics "Saddest Song Ever Sung"?
That the T-shirts again. That's something that is in the hands of Low Fidelity Records.
Also, okay. Gotcha.
whatever Jeffrey wants to do in that department.
That became kind of a iconic picture that was made by an artist, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, there was
like drawn.
There was an artist that we hired to create that image. Yep.
Yeah, and then you had that as the backdrop, and you had shirts.
Yep.
And yeah, so was that kind of you leaned into that as you're like, oh, this is kind of like the Swoon.
Yeah. There's a girl swooning.
That's cool.
That's it. You got it. Yeah, yeah, and that was supposed to be Beatrice, from the Dante song. So that's supposed to represent. Beatrice is supposed to represent divine love, and that's
cool.
All that symbolism kind of stacked on.
So the song "Square Dance Candlelight," I think it's fair to say there wasn't anything else like that on the Christian label. I don't think. Then or since, maybe. But what inspired that song?
A square dance.
Okay, that's. I wasn't sure if it's literal or not.
Sounds pretty literal.
Well, you don't have to look too deep there.
The song "Speak Soft" was covered by Poor Old Lou, the band. Were you surprised when that happened, or did they approach you, or did they just do it? Or do you recall? This would have been in, I think, 95 or 96, maybe?
I didn't even know about it for years. So I'm, I see it as a form of flattery if someone wants to copy it. I mean, it's
obviously they found that cassette.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song. I mean, it's
that was one song that we did get a lot of radio play. Well, not a lot, but some radio play in the Twin Cities. That song alone was featured on Cities 97 more than once. And so it doesn't surprise me, really, that would be the one.
What was so magical about that song? It feels like that's something that's one that in particular resonates with people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has some elements of what Daniel's talking. I mean, it's a story, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jerry had some beers, and it's very cinematic, I think, both lyrically and musically, and it's just pretty. I mean, it's a great guitar line, a great vocal hook, nice, and it was kind of a different song for us at that time. I think it was one of the first. Maybe it's our only song that has no drums on it. That's why.
That's right. They're thinking about it.
Jerry had some beers and started to sing. knows what he means, he don't mean a thing. He waited for the wisdom years would bring to him. On the refrigerator door are the words he had written moments before. It says, I hope I never have to go to war. Speak soft, baby, don't you talk to me. To me. To me. To me. He goes to the dance and falls in love. Years later, it's still her he's thinking of. She never spoke once or even looked up. Enough. Speak soft, baby, don't you talk. Speak soft, baby, don't you talk to me. To me. To me. To me. Locked up inside again. Sunday night never ends. Himself inside of a box. He didn't have a trick to spring the lock. Off the stage the people watched the clock. Prison could be a nice place to live. The bars on the window like bars on a crib. Freedom is the least desired gift to give. Speak soft, baby, don't you talk. Speak soft, baby, don't you talk to me. To me. To me. To me. Jerry had some beers and started to weep. It's time to turn away, it's his time to sleep. Don't trouble yourself with seeking peace. Count sheep.
Looking back now, like what are your feelings about that time? You have regrets, and are you proud of that time?
Yeah,
nostalgia, all of the above.
For a long time, I never looked back. I just, for a long time, I never just life moved forward, family responsibilities. I was pursuing my studies and such, and so it was just like, well, that was a thing, you know. When we were approached 5 years ago by Jeffrey from Low Fidelity, I didn't even have a copy of the music. I hadn't heard it in I don't know how long. So I got it. I bought a copy off of Amazon. I ordered a copy of the CD off Amazon just to even hear it again, and I was impressed. I thought, geez, this is pretty good. Kind of better than I remember anyway. So now it's like there's just a lot of nostalgia there. That's all. It's like got a lot wrapped up with a lot of nostalgia.
How about you, Emmett?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting ride since then. I've gone on to do very different things, but I actually kind of stuck with the drums for a while after the Swoon broke up. I was playing with a band in the Twin Cities called Nero's House Band for maybe 2 or 3 years, and we played clubs, very kind of weird rock, avant-garde, Frank Zappa type stuff. I actually did a CD, which I just looked on Amazon. There's a copy on there for $80. With an artist, Twin Cities artist named Jim Langamo, another Jim, and I played all the drums on that. And I felt like in terms of my drumming, I was actually still learning a lot, and I had learned a lot from working with Charlie. It was sort of tough being under a studio microscope, but I thought that benefited my drumming, and I kept kind of pushing myself on that. So that's why I kept doing these other projects. But then eventually, I just had to go get a real job.
Yeah. I have a job.
And,
yeah, exactly. It's not ringing a bell.
Nope, not ringing a bell. So I've been doing something else for 20 years. But yeah, about 5 years ago, we really started realizing that there's, a bunch of people out there, hundreds of people that really still like this music, like yourselves. And so I just have sort of a feeling of gratitude that that the music touched people, because we put a lot of work into it. If you guys are musicians, you understand, or if you're just music
Jim
lovers.
is.
Yeah,
he left though, so he doesn't count right now. I'm just kidding.
I see a Fender amp and some guitars back there, and I saw.
He's got a band called Airedale. It's Airdale,
okay.
But it's kind of like it's him. He does all the stuff and produces it and stuff. But
right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. So it's just nice that people still get something out of the music. I mean that's a really good feeling.
So for you guys, is it pretty much like you'd like to see this come out, but do you have any thoughts of, hey, someday maybe we would make some more music together, or when logistics or life kind of settles down, if it ever settles down? I know there's, it's hard to get together and stuff, but yeah, what are your thoughts about that?
I don't think we have any thoughts about that. I don't have any thoughts about that. I have tried to.
No desire.
A few pieces, and so I did that. I took a cassette tape that we had, or we found. Troy Bartman actually got a hold of this cassette recording of a rehearsal that had a particular song that I had written for the girl that I ended up marrying, my wife, right? And I really wanted to hear that song again. And so he found this, and so then I hired a musician friend of mine to recreate it, to actually studio recreate it. I told him, I said, beat for beat, note for note. And that was a challenge. And so then that was fun. That was a fun project. And did something very similar with Sweet Sweet Heaven, which I haven't released into the wild yet. So that's Emmett hasn't even heard that yet. But that's just funning around. There's no real plans. I don't think there's any thoughts of making me. I mean, I'm the only one still here. I'm still in St. Paul. Emmett's out in California, and Austin's in
looking at the ocean.
Dang it's like we span the entire continent at this point.
Yeah. I think it's cool that because it looks like you're done a lot of the video stuff, creating the fables type stuff that you spoke about, like with AI and different things. It looks like that's what you're using. Is that right? Like for some of the videos? That's really cool.
In that particular one, yes. I think that's the only one where we used AI to create the.
Which one is that?
That's from Spectacular Illusions, a song called Seven Daughters.
Seven Daughters. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I watched that earlier.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
The first daughter spins. The second daughter bakes. The third daughter sings. While the fourth daughter waits. The fifth daughter daughter number 7 is stuffed a fearsome night. 7 is a blessing. Every blessing is a treasure. 7 is a blessing. Every daughter is a pleasure.
Jim, you missed it. We were talking about you.
Uh-oh.
And your
Sorry.
band.
I had to run real quick. Uh-oh, what'd you say?
That it was cool.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they bought it. But
nah, it's nice to say though.
No, it's cool. What's your music? How would you describe your band, Jim?
I mean, it's electronic. It's influenced by bands like New Order and that era. Electronic, Depeche Mode, and
cool.
But a little bit
but there's a lot of guitar. He's a guitarist.
there's a lot of guitar. Yeah.
He plays bass and guitar. And
I do too much keyboard in there because I'm not really a keyboardist, but I always like to do things that I'm not comfortable with, and that's what I do. But the other band that I'm in is a little better. So
Mercy Shroud. Is that right?
They call Mercy Shroud, and it's 4 guys. If we ever get a recording done, it's gonna be pretty good, I think. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I heard you. I watched part of your interview with Steve Taylor, and I heard you talking about the band.
Cool.
Yeah,
old Steve. Yeah,
I kind of forgotten about Steve, honestly, but he was in the mix definitely in terms of our Christian music playlist. Yeah. We enjoyed
he's awesome.
Yep.
77s. You probably knew them back in the day.
Yes.
Daniel Amos.
Yes.
Somewhat, maybe. Yeah.
But honestly, we didn't listen to much Christian music. I mean, that was like you pretty much just recited
who we the only ones.
Charlie Peacock, and that's pretty much. I remember going to hear the Res Band.
You went to Cornerstone, right? So you probably saw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Saw some.
Did you listen to the Smiths back then?
Oh yeah.
Not so much.
They weren't
so much.
Oh,
sorry. Excuse me. But they weren't. But the Swoon weren't a Christian band. So.
Oh no! All those guys, and by all those guys, I mean that whole new wave sort of.
How about REM? For sure, right?
Yeah, REM for sure.
Cool. For new listeners discovering you today, which I'm sure they're going to be for sure. What do you hope they take away, or what do you hope that they the impression that you make on them?
The music, like what impression it makes on it would, I would hope that the music, I think the music stands up, and has sort of a like it's I would hope they'd be able to enjoy it today and not say, oh, this sounds really dated. Maybe it does, and maybe it does sound really dated, but that what we were speaking about earlier of that transcendent quality that's in the storytelling, and that's sort of like that seeking after that we're more than physicality. There's more than just this here and now. Like if that's still whispering through, that's all I'm really looking for. That would be all I would really hope for.
Good answer. How about you, Emmett? You're just behind the drums, right?
I'm just behind the drums, but I like his answer. But yeah, I mean, certainly it would be nice if it doesn't sound dated. I'm biased.
I don't think so.
I don't think it does. I mean, it didn't sound really of its time at the time, I don't think. I mean, even though we were listening to U2, REM, and DA and the Choir, and it has elements of all that stuff, I feel like we somehow got something that was somewhat original out of all that mix, and hopefully that's what people are still responding to.
If you guys could go back to the garage in Cottonwood or the basement and give your younger selves advice, what would it be?
Oh my God.
About music, I presume.
Oh no. Anything about life, right? Because it's all kind of intertwined, right?
I would have told myself to practice to a metronome, probably.
That's an ongoing theme with this podcast as well.
It is.
The metronome.
Yeah.
It's the demise of certain people.
Yeah, if I could talk to my younger self, that would be a long conversation. That would be a serious sit down, long conversation. It'd be like, now you listen here. We're gonna let me tell you a few things about life. Don't marry a rocker. That's don't marry. It's like a long journey to become a human being from that world.
I wish Austin was here to tell us what he would tell himself. Emmett, yours brother, you should know, have an idea.
No, I wish he would say something far more eloquent and pithy than I could come up with. He has a PhD in philosophy, so he's pretty heady stuff going on. But he actually stuck with music too, and taught himself accordion. And he's actually in an accordion group in Brooklyn.
That is interesting.
For a while, they're like an accordion orchestra.
Wow.
You play polka?
Jim, we had somebody on that played the accordion. Was it
Weird Al?
No, who was it? It wasn't one of the church guys, was it?
I can't recall.
Somebody played accordion, and that was their first choice, and that's what they really got into. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I don't
Wasn't Steve Taylor, I don't think. Maybe it was. Maybe. It might have been Steve Taylor, actually.
Yeah, it might have been it.
I guess that checks out.
Yeah, it seems about right.
Oh,
Weird Al.
Exactly. Well, yeah. His zaniness, I think, marries up with that really well. I think I've hit all the questions more or less. I really do wish that Austin could have been here, but just pass along that we missed him, and we'll fill in the gaps with philosophical things. I'll make little things, little comments here and there, and interrupt the conversation.
It is too bad he's not here. Austin recorded a solo project during a hiatus that we took shortly after Gina left the band. And he recorded a solo project on a 4-track recorder that was titled What I Did on My Summer Vacation. And it is absolutely brilliant. It is like really, really like next level songwriting. And I still listen to that. This is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And that stuff, if the Swoon had gone on, that really represents what next generation Swoon, would have sounded like. And So I wish, I wish we had been able to record some of those songs, because those are just fantastic, absolutely brilliant pieces of art.
I feel like Rip Van Winkle. And 20 years have gone too fast. Mine eyes have seen the glory. Horizons of glass. You feel like Rip Van Winkle. And 20 years have gone too fast. And you're standing on the threshold. Jesus, Jesus, do you remember me? Jesus, Jesus, do you
Side comment. How many times have we talked about the 4-track recorder on this podcast, Jim?
Oh yeah, that's another
Pretty
ongoing-
much every episode.
Right. The hiss.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
You guys aren't gonna get back together for some shows?
Oh, you missed it. That's when
Did
you
I
went to
miss
the
something?
bathroom, Jim.
Oh,
Sorry. You don't deserve to know. No, I'll let them talk.
I'm an old man now. I mean, come on.
What? Yeah.
I think we talked about trying to do something, didn't we, Daniel? Like maybe a few years back, that we were going to try and get together and play, a few songs. Maybe that was just me and Austin.
I'm telling you,
audio
bands reunited. We got to do it. We got to.
We were talking about a release party. If we ever got that, but no, I can't imagine that happening.
Play audio feed in Illinois. It's like Cornerstone's replacement audio feed.
Oh, okay,
festival.
that's what it's called now. I haven't even thought about Cornerstone in forever.
Yeah, they kind of still exist as audio feed or something like that.
I didn't even know that. Back to Austin's. So can we hear that somewhere?
Well, it's his. If he was here, he could answer that. I have a copy, but I can't share it. On his behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was only. I think he tried to get it put on digital media at some point, but there are some issues. But yeah. So there's some cassettes floating around out there, but very few and far between. I played drums on 2 tracks, I think, on that. And I feel like Troy might have played on one song too. But otherwise it was all Austin singing, guitar, keys. He didn't play drums.
I have his email address now, so I can reach out and ask him.
That would be the ticket.
I'm one of those weirdos that I really like demo type, like raw quality. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that it is that, but when you talk about the 4-track, I'm like, I like that stuff like that. I gravitate towards that kind of stuff. So anyway,
Yeah, no,
I think it's
you
cool.
should reach out to him. I'm sure you'd enjoy it if you got a chance to hear it.
Yeah, maybe I'll convince them to have a conversation. Yeah, when things are better for him. What'd you say, Jim?
So we could get it digitized for him.
Yeah, we'll take care of him. We'll take care of him. We know the Us Kids guys. Have you heard about the Us Kids?
No.
Oh, see, they don't even know what it is. Okay.
Oh, that's a big deal. Go ahead.
Yeah, Us Kids is a documentary that's being put together about the Southern California and Southern and Central California, like the alternative, like fringe Christian bands, like Daniel Amos and 77s, and the Choir and all those bands, that were kind of somewhat ostracized. The bands we liked because of that, the fringe, Anyway, Undercover, yeah, they're one of the bands. I'm sure others you've heard of too. So, but they've been putting together for probably 3 or 4 years. It's a guy called Todd Zeller, and he's a videographer. And then John Smaby was the host of Reality Rock Radio, where he played all that stuff, back in the day. But they've been doing all these interviews, putting that together. So. They're on Facebook and everything, and they have a website and stuff called Us Kids and Alternative Music Rebellion. So pretty exciting.
That's the next podcast too. It's our next podcast.
Yeah. It's not out yet, but it's in post edit. I have a few that I'm working on. So, but
those were great bands, not just great Christian bands. They transcended that. So it'd be cool if more people discovered them. I mean, The Choir, I think, is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah, pretty amazing. That's one of our favorites as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, you get to hear, like, they, pretty much they get to talk about all the, struggles they had and the record label stuff, and kind of similar to some of the stuff you guys went through, on a certain level, because a lot of that was just like people didn't have any idea what was happening behind the scenes with the record labels and stuff like that. So, but anyway, pretty cool.
Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, very nice.
Is there anything else you guys want to say to the longtime fans or new people? They're gonna everyone is gonna discover you from this podcast. So
yeah, it's been
sarcasm
from longtime fans. That's been really great, and thanks for remembering us. Thanks for listening. And a lot of people that have said, hey, this music meant a lot to me. It's been on my playlist all these years and that sort of thing. That's really remarkable. And so thank you.
Yeah, I echo that. Just a feeling of gratitude that the music is still alive and that there's folks like Jim and James here, that are kind of trying to reach out and give us a chance to walk down memory lane a bit.
So cool.
Yeah, it's very much appreciated. And sorry Austin couldn't be on, but I'm sure he'd also send his appreciation. And I know he's actually kept in touch with some of those folks like Derry and Mike Rowe.
Oh, nice.
A little bit. So he'd probably have some good stories to tell about them. So maybe you can get him on for his own show. He can talk about his solo.
I'll chat with him a little bit. We'll incorporate it or talk to him later. But yeah, it was definitely our privilege, and thank you so much for joining us and spending your evening with us.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Take care of yourselves. Talk to you soon. All right.
Bye-bye.
Have
a good night. And that is a wrap for our episode. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the Swoon and talking with Daniel and Emmett from the band. I wish that Austin would have been able to join us, but nevertheless, we had a fabulous conversation with Daniel and Emmett. I did insert a little clip of the first track on Austin's release, What I Did on My Summer Vacation. It's called Horizons of Glass. I highly recommend that you seek it out. I was able to finally find it on YouTube. Someone had uploaded the entire album on one video on YouTube. I think it might have been somebody that knows Austin. Maybe Austin performed the song at his wedding. I just looked down through some notes and comments, but I highly recommend you checking that out. Really is fantastic. And if you do not know what's going on with Swoon or you've never heard of the band until now, please go and check out all of their music. I really feel like I only scratched the surface during this episode. There were so many songs I wanted to play. And when you have an album like Neverland, Benson, Beatrice, where every song is a song that you want to share with everyone, that really says something. And I really wanted to play them all, but there's not enough time and not enough slots in the episode to put out a 4-hour episode of this music. But you can definitely go check out their website. Not too hard to find. I'll put it in the show notes. And you can find them on YouTube is the best place, I think, to go and listen to the band. I think on the website, the link shows Swoon Tube, and it lists all of videos. Then you can click on each one and go and listen to all of them. And there's a lot of live versions. I believe there is a plan when Jeffrey Katoff comes up with the Kickstarter for Neverland Benson, they're going to re-release that on vinyl. And then also the stretch goal will be Spectacular Illusions, the album that they made. It was kind of, the demos were made, but the album wasn't actually finalized and produced, and that never came out. But that is going to be a stretch goal for the Kickstarter. And I believe that Glory Lights may be a stretch goal also for the project. It's a live concert from the band. I believe it might be all on one concert. I can't remember if it's spliced together. I'm pretty sure it was one concert. But anyway, that's something also to look forward to. And hopefully that'll come out sometime this year. I know that the latest word was that Jeffrey was going to try to make that happen this year. So definitely sign on for that one. I know there's a lot of Kickstarters, but that one's going to be well worth your time and money. And if you haven't heard the band, I think you really are going to enjoy that album. And on vinyl it's going to be amazing. I can't believe what these guys did at their age with the music that put out. It really is truly amazing, both the music and the lyrics and the whole package. So we really can't say enough about that. Please go and support them. And I'm so happy that I got to do an episode on this band. I really am not sure I don't think there's any other episodes about this band out there, which is a shame. Usually I go to seek out doing a band, and there's a number of other episodes from podcasts that are already out there. And so it's kind of been done, but I kind of try to get it from a different angle or kind of dig into a different spots with the band. But this band, there's just nothing else out there. And so I'm happy to be able to put the band out there and introduce them to as many ear canals as I can. As was mentioned, they have a song called Benson, Beatrice. And I'm going to say it like that because that's how it's sung in the song. Before that, I just want to let you guys know I have 3 more episodes that are in post-edit. So I'm working on that. I won't throw who the artists are out there, but I know some of you will be familiar with them and their work and their contributions to other albums. And these 3 episodes I will hopefully wrap up soon, and that will be what I consider the end of the 4th season of the show. Thank you so much for those of you who have come here before and come back for more. I really do appreciate it. There's a number of bands and episodes that I have lined up or in the works as far as talks and interviews. So I'm really excited. And I thank you so much for listening in. And hopefully with all of my life changes right now, I'll be able to keep this moving and keep the episodes going and keep bringing the light and the love. Until then, here is Benson, Beatrice.